homeopathy is?
I have no idea.
Homeopathy? Nah, I never heard of it.
I don't.
Homeopathy, a system of medicine that's often dismissed today as quackery. Yet once it rivaled and revolutionized the practice of medicine. This is the story of the most controversial system of medicine ever invented. Homeopathy.
Homeopathy, how does it work? We don't know. A homeopathic medicine does not heal per se. It doesn't cure you. It doesn't cure your symptoms. It acts as a catalyst for healing.
I really don't understand why they're keeping asking me that. Because if you talk with the conventional doctor, he doesn't know how an allopathic remedy does work.
It's only after you see it happening in person after person after person that you start to realize the power of homeopathy to change lives, not just to change symptoms.
When we catch a cold, when we get flu, when we cut ourselves, we heal. It's the natural state of our body is to heal and repair. And when people get chronic illness, whether it's arthritis, whether it's asthma, somehow that healing power has been turned off. The body cannot get back its balance, its equilibrium, and heal itself. And what homeopathy does is it provides the impetus for the body to heal itself. So in a sense, it's not the homeopathy that's doing the work. The homeopathy provides the impetus for the body to do its own work.
I don't think anybody could have been happier than I was to be pregnant.
Hi, honey.
Lucas Jacob Korn.
Lucas. You're like staring into space.
I knew he had autism. When Lucas was diagnosed that day, I felt like everything in life had slipped away in one moment.
When people come to me with their children, they have tried about everything you can mention that is at this point in vogue for the treatment of autism spectrum disorder.
Quiet? He just listened, and he just let me tell him everything that happened. And then he said, oh, I have a remedy to begin. It was very surreal. Like, even making a remedy, there's nothing in it. It's like a tiny little Saclac pill, and you put it in, it's really small, like the size of a poppy seed. And you put it in water, and then you take one drop from that, and you put it in another thing of water, and then you take one drop of water, and you put it on Lucas's tongue. When I first started doing it, I was really like, how could this could possibly not, I couldn't believe. It would be very hard to believe that if somebody just saw it.
For over 200 years, scientists have debated how homeopathy could possibly work. The main reason why homeopathy is so controversial is because of the preparation of the remedies. These remedies have been made all over the world, according to Hahnemann's direction, over 200 years ago.
If you dilute a substance long enough, if you have high enough dilutions, you will not have a single molecule left of your original substance. So in a way, how can you expect any effect from a substance that is so diluted that there's not a single atom left of the original substance?
The royal family have always used homeopathy and have made no secret of the fact that they have used homeopathy.
But now, funding for homeopathy in the UK is under threat of being cut.
Homeopathy is under huge attack from a very highly organised, well-funded, very good anti-homeopathy lobby. You have to admire them. They know what they're doing, and it's very effective.
In 2010, the Australian government decided to take on this question about the effectiveness of homeopathy. In one of the most ambitious reviews of the evidence to date, the National Health and Medical Research Council, the NHMRC, began by identifying more than 1,800 scientific studies on homeopathy. 5 years later, they released their findings.
The evidence is clear. When homeopathy is tested against placebo or tested against other types of treatments, it doesn't show any benefit, and that is essentially what we've shown.
The world press ran with the story. The fallout was immediate and devastating around the globe. This report posed a serious threat to homeopathy. Jerry Dendrinos worked in the health sector for the Australian government for several years. He suspected this report might not be free from bias, and he wanted to get to the bottom of it. In the summer of 1799, a deadly outbreak of scarlet fever raged through the village of Königslutter, where Samuel Hahnemann lived. Conventional medicine was failing. Many were dying.
People became very, very red. Red in the face, red in the body, huge fevers. And he says, this resembles this plant that I know, belladonna. And he went from house to house with his little vial and put it in water and said, give it not just to the sick children, give it to the other children who are not yet sick. And nobody died anymore. And that was the first time an epidemic of scarlet fever was cured.
No drinking.
Tree. He went from no language to saying no, to singing the alphabet, to singing happy birthday. How can that happen? But if he could only speak these words and relate on this level, I could live with that, because he is my son now. Before he was like my son, but it was like, you know, somebody had taken his soul away.
I know it works. And how do I know it's not placebo? A 6-month-old baby, a 1-year-old child, a 3-year-old child doesn't even know what it's taking. Does faith cure these children?
After 6 months of investigation into the Australian report, Jerry uncovered layers of misconduct and bias. One of the flaws Jerry uncovered was that the NHMRC claimed that any trial with fewer than 150 participants was unreliable.
I never read anywhere that you needed at least 150 subjects in a study in order for it to be considered valid. So it's just an artificial delineation that they seem to have made.
My personal view is that it might have been a mistake to use that as a criteria, but I can tell you that it would have made no difference to the outcome.
It did make a difference to the outcome. The overview started with over 1,800 studies. Only 176 were suitable for this review. Then they applied their unprecedented definition of trial reliability. The sample size cutoff alone reduced the number of studies to 30. The remaining studies had to pass through another threshold for quality, which was set unusually high. Only 5 studies made it through. According to their rules, only 5 studies were deemed reliable. Since these were all assessed as negative, the NHMRC concluded that there is no reliable evidence that homeopathy is effective.
I was really curious about why they picked 150 out of thin air. And I thought, well, it's interesting the impact of that decision, because, for example, there's a really high quality study that's been done on hay fever that had 144 people in it. And in the Australian report, it talks about that study and it says it's high quality, but it had 144 people in it, so it's gone.
People keep quoting this review as being credible and rigorous and thorough and comprehensive, and that's just a lie. They are all lies.
It flies against everything I've learned as a physicist, everything I've studied during my thesis on water structures. I know it's not possible. It's in principle not possible. And yet it's there. It is there. We see it in experiments. And our duty as scientists is to look at the experiments and then find out more and explain it. The anxiety that we might have something to discover, I think is exciting. No, and if we have to rewrite part of the science, fantastic. That's what research is all about.
Open Pharma Group, in the name of health.